Hey y'all, Fred here. Thanks so much for joining me today. So we're going to do some cutting with our Sencut Cybrix here. This knife was loaned to the channel by a friend and longtime subscriber, John Emerson, aka TheTriFyre. You will see him down in the comments on most videos. This is probably one of the most ergonomic knives that Sencut has made. One of their relatively newer models. Just that shape and design of that handle, the way it's all cut down. This is what they mean when they say hand melting ergonomics. Fantastic knife from Sencut here. We're going to use my redneck sharpness rating scale. This is not a professional rating scale by any imagination. Starts from anywhere from a 1, which is basically it cuts like a spoon, all the way up to 10, which is slicker than a buttered eel on a water slide. So we're going to find out where this thing falls in that test. Again, this is not objective. It's just impossible for me to do a truly objective test, but I try to do the same thing. You'll see we cut some cardboard, some rope, a rubber hose, and some wood, and I try to do roughly the same. We're going to see how this blade holds up. This is a 9Cr18MoV from Sencut, so it has not been sharpened, and that's going to be one of the things that what I have experienced with almost all of my knives, regardless of the steel type, is that when I don't sharpen it, I mean, I did that with a MagnaCut, a real deal, genuine, well heat treated MagnaCut that I didn't sharpen from the factory, and it did horribly on my test. So I'm always curious to see, but since this is not my knife, thank you by the way again, John, I'm not going to put it through too much, and I didn't want to really reprofile or sharpen this knife. This is a brand new knife for him. He was kind enough, so I'm not going to put it quite through that much abuse yet. But anyhow, still factory edge. It's sharp, 8.1 inches full length. Nice long 3.5-inch cutting blade. Relatively thin blade stock. Let me move this out of the way so we can get focused a little better. 120 thousandths on the blade stock thickness. 14 thousandths behind the edge. You can see got a nice tall flat grind here. The handle is just a hair under a 1/2 inch thick, which is nice. Fills out the hand beautifully. 4.2 ounces. These scales are not milled out in any way, so it gives you a very strong, solid feeling. But again, at 4.2 ounces, that's like, for me, the perfect great EDC or even a medium duty work knife. Gosh, you could almost do this heavy duty, but I'm not sure that I would want to put it through too much abuse with that 9Cr18. Easily all day long work cutting knife. If I knew I had to go somewhere where I was going to do a lot of cutting all day long, this is the knife I would want to have in my pocket. Let's do a couple of quick size comps just so you can get a sense. This is a pretty good size knife here. In between the PM2 and the Para 3, you can see this is definitely much closer to the PM2 size of a knife. Let's take another one real quick. We'll always do the Civivi Vision FG. And the Pyrite Light, you can see this is actually just a little bit longer than the Civivi Vision FG. Let me swap these around here and you can get that sense. Just a fraction of an inch longer, but longer yet. So there you go. That's about the size that you can expect. Again, ergonomics on this knife are fantastic. These aluminum scales, beautifully molded. That kind of banana shape just fits in the palm of your hand. So nice. There's no real forward finger choil. I haven't decided yet. I guess we'll see when we get to the cardboard if I dare use this as a trigger. You could certainly put your finger down here. And I'd asked this to other in the review video. Why do they put jimping on the bottom of this blade, this flipper? You know, there's no point having it on the back right here. That doesn't help me flip it. I can't do anything with jimping there that's useful. I can understand the jimping on the top makes sense. By the way, this is a great flipper. This is a button compression lock, not a compression lock, sorry. This is a plunge lock button, but Sencut does great. You know, you can spine wipe these all day long. I know a lot of people aren't real thrilled with plunge locks anymore. That kind of was a fad that went its way. But I'm going to tell you, these guys do excellent. I feel very confident in this plunge lock not breaking, you know, in any kind of spine whack. No fail on that right there. And this one certainly is no case. Very fidgety knife, by the way. You've got great thumb stud placements for both the forward and reverse grip, as well as a nice little unobtrusive flipper right there. But back to my original question, which was jimping on the bottom. Is that for you to put your finger on that little flipper tab right there to get some additional forward leverage on the knife without slipping off? That's the only thing I can imagine why they would put jimping down here on the bottom, and I've seen this on several different knives as well. So any of y'all who are real knife experts who happen to know the answer to that question, I would love to hear it. Anyhow, long story short, I'm not sure where I'm going to live with my finger here when we get to cardboard cutting. I may just try a couple of different places, but man, that's just so close to the edge of the blade right there. You know, you'd have to really be confident in that grip in order to do it. I think probably more often than not, this is the place to live on this knife. Anyhow, great all-day medium to heavy-duty kind of work knife. Decent enough angle on the tip. You can certainly get down for draw cuts. Excellent for pinch cuts. Not great probably in the reverse position just because of that little finger choil there, but you could certainly do it if you needed to. At any rate, I love this knife and definitely is one of the most ergonomic that I have here. Overall, great knife. Did come really sharp out of the factory. We're going to call this a 10 out of 10. That's as close to a laser beam cutting as you could expect a knife to be. So yeehaw for that. That being said, let's get to cutting.
All right, so as always, we have about 400 square inches, 427 in this case. I'm actually not speeding up the first half of this board or piece of cardboard here because I want you to see just how fast and easy this knife slices right through. Relatively tall, flat, good slicey grind on it. And it just tears right through this cardboard like nothing. So now I'm speeding it up. This is at double speed. We'll move on through the cutting, but I just wanted you to be able to see this thing cuts great. You know, the old hot knife through butter is definitely the case with this knife. No issues. I am using kind of that choked back saber grip position. Feels obviously comfortable in the hands. Of course, I have gloves on, so I'm not getting to feel a whole lot, but there's nothing uncomfortable about this knife. But it's just tearing through. Doesn't seem to matter what angle you put that cardboard at, sometimes going with the grain, across the grain, perpendicular to the grain. So let's pull out the old paper and see really what we want to know is how does the edge hold up? And as you can see, these first couple of swipes are beautifully clean. There's nothing. I'm going to go a little slower here, see if I can really get through all of that blade. Nothing. This is a very good start for a 9Cr18. We are off to a great start. We're going to call that a 9 on the old redneck scale, and really it's a 9 plus. This is something I don't do enough. I'm going to try to do this more just to show you how kind of these draw cuts work. The point on this blade is not so high off the center line that you can't put it down and do a little bit of hard work or little draw cuts on it. So thought I'll include that. Now what I'm looking for on the hose is, can I push it through the hose without having to do any sawing back and forth? And as you can see here, it takes a little bit of effort. Obviously, this is a nylon reinforced thick rubber hose, but it does push cut right through there. So again, really testing well. And on this, somebody asked me, why do you do that, chopping those into little bits? I imagine that these might be like, cable ties or something that you need to pop through on a stack of wood or package or what have you, and it just pops right through that nice belly. Nice big belly on this knife allows you to really use that belly. So let's see how the edge is held up. And again, very smooth. That was me coming out of the cut early. Still nothing. And you can feel it, y'all. If y'all cut paper, you'll feel it when a knife feels good. So we're easily still at a 9, which again is shocking. Let's see, the sisal rope usually does the most damage to the edge. So let's see how this one holds out on us here. And as you can see, I'm looking to see, will it pop through that rope so I don't have to do any sawing? And absolutely, this is actually one of the best performances on this sisal rope cut test in terms of just being able to really use the belly of that knife and push it down and pop it right through the rope. Did a fantastic job on that. So let's see again, how is my edge holding up? And look at this, y'all. This is shocking. There are very few knives that have made it through all 3 of these tests and still held up at a 9. I can't think of one, as a matter of fact, off the top of my head. That's shocking, y'all. So let's see how it does on the wood. With the wood test, I'm mostly looking for ergonomics. How does it feel in the hand? I'm going to start out in this saber grip with kind of that thumb forward, which is how the knife is, designed, engineered. Like I said, this is one of the most ergonomic knives, kind of melt in your hand. So I'm just looking to see how it really feels when you've got to grip it really hard. Now I'm going to switch over to that hammer grip, which feels like it gives me a little bit more force or leverage, power into the cut maybe, but definitely a little bit less comfortable. You can see it's able to dig as far as the blade. It's digging nicely into the woods, but unfortunately it's also digging in. That always happens to me regardless of the knife. That very top edge, I guess it's just my hand, I feel it. But when I switch into this saber grip, what I'm trying to show you is that I don't feel anything in this grip right here. That's really shocking. How comfortable it is and how much I didn't feel that. So let's see if we did any edge damage. Usually we don't do too much more than the rope did. And as you can see, we're cutting cleanly through paper still. Like, that's nothing. I'm going to try to see if I can really slow down and check every inch from tip to heel on that blade. Now I'm just playing around because this thing is still slicing incredibly well. I mean, I'm going to give it a 9 here. I'll give a little giveaway in case you hadn't noticed already. That's just shocking, the way it's held up. So now I've got my new strop with some CBN compound you guys recommended to me. So this is the 16 micron side. I'm going to do, I think I do maybe 7 passes on each side on the larger micron, and then I'm going to switch over to the 6 micron to try to finish it off. It really doesn't need much honing at this point. We didn't get below a 9 on these tests. I'm still in shock about that. How I can't think of, we're going to look at the numbers here in a minute, I can't think of another knife that did that well. And a 9Cr18 with a factory edge. So pretty shocking. We'll talk about that more, I guess, here in just a second. But for now, obviously just showing you it strops back easily. It's a 9CR. Of course it's going to strop back easily. That's one of the joys of that steel. And now I'm just playing around. It's back to a 10, and we are good to go on this thing. So let's dive into the numbers and see how we made out on this thing. All right, I apologize. I know you can never see these unless you're on some kind of big giant screen TV. I'll read through the numbers. We'll go through this pretty quick. I think you kind of already get the picture by now of how much I like this knife. This is the Sencut Cybrix in 9Cr18MoV. Have no idea what the HRC rating is on this. Knife Steel Nerds ranks 9Cr18 at around a 4 to 4.5 on the edge retention. So take that for what it is. I did not sharpen the knife first. It was brand new. John loaned it to me. It was brand new to him. So we were starting at a 10 out of 10 on the redneck sharpness scale. Cut 427 square inches of cardboard, still a 9 on the sharpness scale. After that, did our 3 hose cuts, still a 9. Cut 11 pieces of rope, still a 9 on the rating scale. Did our wood cutting, and which is really just more for ergonomics than anything, although it did bite very nicely into the wood, no issues there whatsoever. Still a 9. One of very few knives ever that I have tested that were still a 9 at the end of that test, and really the other knives were mostly M390s, I think. I'm trying to look through my own chart here. The 𝗬𝗀𝗁𝗂𝘁 was an 8 after the wood. That's an 8CR13. 𝗬𝗀 just does really good stuff on theirs. The Winter Blade Factor was my best performing knife, period, and it was a 9 to 10 after the wood cuts. It just barely had anything. But I'll tell you, the other one was the 𝗖𝘂𝗁𝗂𝘁 replica. That was still a 9. And that was, we think it's a 9Cr14. So, you know, they always say it's all about the geometry and the heat treat. We know the geometry is really good on this knife. We know, for the most part, Sencut, 𝗬𝗲𝗴𝗵𝗲𝗶, they take pretty good care of their heat treats on their blades. I mean, if you're going to buy a budget knife, you can pretty much trust that Sencut's going to give you as good a knife quality as you can probably get from anybody, anywhere in that regard. And maybe it was just the luck of the draw that this just happened to be a really well heat-treated batch of 9Cr18. They did a great job in grinding it. They didn't burn the edge at the factory, and it just came, you know, laser sharp on a good, high-quality, well-designed, good geometry type blade. excellent performance, obviously, especially for a 9CR with the factory edge. Some of the best rope pop, you know, just kind of be able to use that belly and rock right through cutting that rope without having to saw on it, as I have had to with many blades before. No snags at any point in time throughout the test, no like little chips or even microchips. It barely was cutting rough by the end of the test. You know, you can feel that as it cuts through the paper, clean versus a little rougher versus hanging up. No hang-ups whatsoever. Really good cut through the rope, through the hose, was able to push straight through both of those. Ergonomics, as I've talked about from the beginning, just fantastic. In the Sabre grip, I didn't feel anything at all. Nothing with the pocket clip, so really good on that. This knife just outperformed most other higher-end steels. And so, yeah, it does matter, I guess. The heat treat, the geometry, all those things that we've said. So if this is a knife that you've been thinking about and you're just wondering, you know, is this something that you would recommend based on this test? Absolutely. This is a 10 out of 10 on the recommendations. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better knife that's more ergonomic. It looks good. The button lock is absolutely solid on it. You can get it in multiple colors if you prefer other colors. Fantastic ergonomics, and listen, this blade edge just held up as good as my M390 steels. So I'm not saying it's an M390, nor will it probably last over time as long, I'm pretty certain it won't, as a real M390 steel will. But man, for what we just put it through and how so many other knives of supposedly more high-end steels have performed, fantastic, y'all. This is a really, really good performer. I'm giving it an overall 9 on the scale, and there you go. Listen, if you're not already a subscriber, I would encourage you. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. Certainly, we always love hearing from all y'all. I love chatting with you down in the comments. We've got our big giveaway coming up here. You do have to be a subscriber for that. So if you're not already, hit that subscribe button, notification bell. That helps us out. Throw your boy a thumbs up. I certainly appreciate that. That's very helpful also. Otherwise, let me know down in the comments, what would you like to see me do differently? How can we make these tests better? Should I skip through parts? Should I go into more detail on a certain aspect? Always trying to make this stuff better for y'all. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys so much, and we will talk to you soon down in the comments probably. Y'all have a great day.